implement the will. What we can do as a region, we need to borrow the treaty, the East African Community Treaty, and just try to pick what is relevant to our case. And it has almost everything, because in that treaty, the East African Development Bank was created, and at that treaty, quite a number, even the engagement, how do these counties engage under that treaty? I'm saying this because of hard over talk about the organs of the Jumuiya. There's a General Assembly, there's a Governing Council. So what Owen has done is basically to borrow the UN model. But you see, the UN model is based on political issues. UN mainly deals with political matters. But for us, we are going beyond politics. In fact, our main identity is economic empowerment of the coastal person. And there's no better place to borrow than from the East African, than the treaty forming the East African community. Because under that treaty, even how we will be meted to form, to make a decision is very elaborate. For instance, the treaty divides members into sectoral councils. So that if you have a matter, if a county generates an idea or an agenda, or if the secretariat develop an agenda, depending on that agenda, then the sector within which that agenda has been formulated is the one to meet. For example, if it's a matter touching on tourism, then the CECs, or the departments of tourism across the 6 counties, are the ones that are going to meet, not all of us. For example, if it's an agenda for tourism, the first people to meet are the senior officials. After they meet the first day, they feed into the chief officers. After the chief officers have deliberated, then they feed into the CECs. That's the structure given under the East African Treaty, which we can borrow and we get there legally. How do we bring these countries together legally? And I think that's the area that we really need to put our focus on. Because for countries to start expending expenses in funding the secretariat, there must be a legal union, so that passed by the county assembly, giving us the mandate now to commit county resources to build Jumuiya. So, for the chairman, I think the way forward, the most urgent thing we need to do is to make sure we come up with that legal document that will bind us as 6 counties. The summit will be made up of the governors, because they are the ones who are going to execute the executive mandate into signing decisions. But in between, because we want to accommodate our members of parliament and our senators, we need to create a body in between, which now we can have the governing council. So that before a matter goes to the summit, it must pass through a governing council which brings together almost all the political leadership before it goes to the summit where governors sit to actually make the decision. Because under the law, it is only the governor who is mandated to bind legally the council. So I was thinking, other than using the UN model, we adopt the ESC model, which is very much what we are thinking. We urgently need to come up with a team, either legal minds and political scientists, to start this journey. Because we can have all these big ideas, but as long as we don't have that legal instrument, these ideas won't be able to be implemented in the absence of that instrument. So I think the most important thing we need to do now is to come up with that team of legal minds and political scientists to sit down, come through that treaty, pick whatever is relevant to us, and then, because it is that document that must be made available to all these meetings we're going for. When we meet the MCS, that is the reference document. If we meet religious leaders, that is the document. And that is the document that will be sort of subjected to a referendum in courts, because I don't think we'll do a referendum. But that is the document that has to go for public participation. And that is the document that will be ratified by our 6 parliaments for us to sign eventually as 6 governors. So I think a lot of emphasis must be given to that document. Kwa sababu sisi tunajiita Jumuiya ya Pwani, I don't think, to be consistent, we eat a Jumuiya ya Pwani Development Bank. to be consistent with our identity. And the same goes to the board. We are Pwani Tourism Development Bank, so that we keep on carrying that identity. Yeah. Whatever, but lazima ya Jumuiya it's always carried with, so that we have our identity carried always.